And we're live. Hello and welcome to Writer Chat. It's been a little while. Hope you've missed us. My guest tonight is Carlie Cullen, who's been on before, and we had a chat around about NaNoWriMo time. And she was mentioning then that her book, her latest or the last book in a trilogy, was out soon, and it's now out. So welcome, Carlie.
Hello, Gerald.
Yes, she is. And last time, if those of you regular viewers will remember that Carlie had a few technical issues and she was all in darkness, but but she's managed to resolve those now, and she's there for all to see, which is which is lovely. Okay then, so oh blimey, you've been very busy these past couple of weeks, haven't you?
Just a lot.
Yes. Blog tours and interviews and all sorts. It's been quite a hectic time for you, hasn't it?
Yes, it has, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. And, when you're running a blog tour and you've got so many nice people willing to give you a hand and, hand their blogs over to you, it's very special.
Oh, that's nice. And so, in case there is anyone out there who doesn't know what a blog tour is, what is a blog tour? Blog tour.
Basically, it's people who sort of get together and loan you their blogs to put various posts up. So it could be a review, could be a guest post, an interview, excerpt, cover reveal, trailer reveal, anything like that. And whoever's running it tries to schedule it so that there's at least sort of one post every single day throughout the period of the blog tour. And basically what it does, it gets the word out to a wider audience about what it is you're trying to promote, basically.
Excellent. So really, it's like a book tour, isn't it? It's like a tour of bookshops, except it's blogs, and you don't have to leave your house, which is which is quite convenient.
Yes, it is, especially when a lot of the blogs are in Australia and America. And to be quite honest, I don't have the money to fly backwards and forwards.
Yeah, that'd be a little bit tricky. I can see that. And you had a trailer done for your book, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Sarah Jane Bird, who is absolutely amazing. She made all the jewellery for the giveaway that I'm doing, except for one particular piece. And she said, "Oh, I'll put a trailer together for you." And within a few days, she's got something done that was absolutely amazing, and I just loved it from the first time I saw it. So I was very, very lucky that she was able to do that for me.
It was very, very good, and for someone who hasn't done one of these things before, although she's done some video editing and stuff. But hello, we've got
Yeah,
a
hang on. Oops.
bit of feedback. Yeah, she made a superb job of it, and it was very, very good. And it's all part of this sort of promotional side to your writing, isn't it? It's you have to get the word out there. You have to let people know that you have the latest book out, and get them to buy the thing.
Yeah, basically.
I like to get things down to basics. No highfalutin stuff. So the final book in the series, and it's carrying on some of the characters from the other books, particularly your main character Remy. How do you pronounce it?
Remy. Remy
Remy.
and Joshua, they are
Re-
the two main characters.
yeah, and as it was the final book in the series, I won't sort of spoil anything, but the ending was different to how I imagined it would be.
All right. In what
Yeah.
way?
Um, I imagined that, well, because all the stuff I write has a sort of fairly fatalistic theme to it, and I'm not averse to killing off my characters right, left, and centre, but you're not like that.
Well, when you write a paranormal romance, you know,
Hmm.
just the term romance sort of signifies that there needs to be a happy ending there somewhere.
Very true.
But I mean, I did kill off a few main characters there,
Yes.
so but I'm not saying who.
No, no, we won't say any more, but people will need to read the book to find out more details of it. Did you and and is that it for those characters? Do you think now?
I think so. Yes. I've got no plans to sort of carry on with the story, but somebody suggested that maybe I consider writing an offshoot book for the twins, Aidan and Ashley, and take things forward from their perspective. I'm still thinking about it at the moment. Whether I'll do it or not, I don't know, because
Yeah,
I've got other things sort of bubbling away in the melting pot, as it were. So,
yeah. You could have sort of heart search the new generation, couldn't you, or something?
yeah, I could do.
Not meaning to put ideas into your head, but there you go. So you finished writing this book. When did you actually finish the first draft of the manuscript?
I finished it about July, August last year,
Hmm.
something like that. And then obviously going through all the editing and the proofreading and everything else. Um, it was actually ready to go sort of a couple of weeks before I physically launched it. But because I wanted to wait for the trailer to be done and to get sort of things organised properly with the blog tour and everything else, that's why I launched it on the 7th of February. But I could have actually brought it forward a little bit.
Yeah. But it's sometimes it's best to take your time and make sure that you've got everything ready. Best to have sort of completed products and completed support products and everything in place before you press the button, isn't it? I think really.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you don't get yourself organised with something like this, then it can very quickly all fall into a pile of
Do do.
doodahs, if you know what I mean.
So that's basically unless you do sort of change your mind in the future. That's basically the end of that series and that set of books. But you're already writing the next book, aren't you?
Yes, I started that for Nano actually, and I've written about 85,000 words on the next book. This is going to be completely different to Heart Search because this one is pure fantasy.
Mm.
So I've had all the world building to do. I've had magic systems to put into place, and everything that goes with that. So there's been a lot of hard work leading up to it before I even started writing.
Yeah.
But the story's, the first draft is coming along really, really well, and I'm pleased with the way it's shaken up. Um, I've made notes as I've been going through, and sort of little thoughts have been popping into my head of things that I want to either put in or take out or embellish um, for, when I finish the first draft. So I'm quite excited about it actually.
It was.
And for those that actually know my avatar, which is very, very distinctive, my main character is actually based on her. She is my main character, my avatar.
And did the story come first, or did the avatar come first?
No, the avatar came first, and she's been quite a big inspiration to me. There's just something about her, and I've actually got a canvas picture of her as well, which my daughter and my best friend had done for me for my birthday a couple of years ago. And just looking at that just gives me so much inspiration that I just felt that she deserved a book of her own.
Mm.
And these thoughts kept popping into my head about her, and I was making notes. And then, of course, once, Heart Search 3 was finished, I was free to start writing it.
And did you ever think about weaving her into the heart search stories, or did you always feel that she deserved something completely different?
No, she was always going to be something different. I was never going to weave her into Heart Search because, I mean, when you look at the picture closely, she's got blue lips, which wouldn't really gel with the whole vampire thing. And she's got little sort of blue veins running down from her eyes. And yes, her skin is very pale, like a vampire's would be, but they wouldn't have those characteristics.
Mm.
So there was never any thought in my mind of merging her into Heart Search. She was always going to have a book of her own.
And probably so she should, if she's become such a sort of large part of your writing life. Um, I'm sure you felt that she deserved her own story.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So she's
So,
now got a name and everything.
wow, blimey, rather than that blue sort of blue nun type thing, isn't it? there's a there's a joke for, for the more mature audience. And after that, because that are you? This is just going to be a single standalone book,
Yes, it is. Yeah.
so you must be sort of heading towards the end of the first draft of that now.
I'm getting close. I would say I've probably got another good 20 to 25,000 words to write on it um, before I actually sort of finish the first draft. So
Okay.
I think about another month ish, and I'll have finished that. And then I can go back and start doing the revisions and putting in the bits that I want to put in and that sort of thing.
Mm. And then after that, you've got. Remember when we were talking before? You've got a mammoth project in the pipeline, haven't you?
Yes, I have. It's a 7 book series, fantasy series, and I've even got a name for the series already. It's called The Seven Doors,
Right.
and obviously each book will have its own title, but that's the actual series title.
Very good. And so does this mark a change, a move away from paranormal romance into fantasy, or you sort of just straddling the two, or just writing generally, and as an idea comes up, whatever genre people like to apply to it is what it will turn out as.
Um, well, when these ideas come to me, I just run with them, basically. That doesn't mean to say that I'm not going to go back to paranormal romance because I've just got this thing about vampires. I've always been fascinated by them ever since I was quite young. Um, and I really, really did enjoy writing the vampire, well, the whole of Heart Search, obviously, I loved writing. But I particularly enjoyed writing the vampire side of it and creating their world within our own, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to go back to paranormal romance because there's every chance that I will. But I've got a lot of things to do which are all fantasy based in the meantime.
Very good. Very good. Do you like having projects stacked up ahead of you?
Yeah, I do actually, because it gives me something to aim for
Mm. Mm.
in a way. Um, I'd hate to be in a position where I've finished a project and I've got nothing lined up or nothing in mind to do next, because then I think I'd be sort of scrabbling around for ideas and maybe run with an idea that's not the right one
Mm.
for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So having things stacked up in advance, it works quite well for me. And I've even got one or two ideas of things I might do after the 7 book series is written. So my muse does keep me well fed, shall we say.
Blimey. And do you just sort of finally on the writing, do you always finish the project that you're working on, or do you put it to sometimes do you put things to one side and work on something else?
No, I always have to finish one project at a time. I mean, some of my author friends I know have got sort of 2 or 3 projects on the go, and I think, how the heck can you keep up with it all? Because I couldn't do that. I have to stay focused on what I'm working on, and once that's finished, then I can start writing the next one, whatever that may be. But there's no way I could have 2 or 3 things going on at once. It would just do my head in totally.
She said, talking to the man who's got 30 odd works in progress, but we'll gloss over that for the moment.
How many?
30 odd. You don't want to know. It's I'm a great starter and I'm a really bad finisher. So so yeah, so that's that. So Heart Search, all 3 books are out now.
Yeah.
I know they're available at Amazon. Are they available anywhere else? They're available in print.
Yes, in print and on Kindle, all through Amazon at the moment. Later on, they will be available on Smashwords, and I'm trying to get them into a major distributor in the UK, to get them into bookshops.
Wow.
But that is work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? It's for a self-published author without a name, without a publisher, to get into bookshops. You can do it with local bookshops as on a sort of personal basis, can't you? You can get into sort of 2 or 3 local bookshops, but getting national representation is quite difficult.
Yeah, well, I'm with an independent publishing group. So, I've got the name of a publisher behind me. It's just one that's not very well known at the moment,
Mm.
although we're working on it as a group.
This is the sort of authors cooperative, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's
uh,
Meerthin
uh,
Publishing.
how's it pronounced again?
Meerthin.
Meerthing. That's. I knew I'd forgotten how to pronounce it. I know how it's spelt, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Meerthing.
Yeah, it's Welsh for Merlin, actually.
Very good. So I would recommend, if paranormal romance is your genre, or if it might be your genre, it's well worth picking up these books. I've read the last one, and I'm going to go back and read the other 2 because the writing. I must say the writing and editing is very professional. There are no You can't point at it and say, "Oh, it's self-published and it's not very good." It's spot on, even to an old sad old critic like me. So they're very good books and very interesting. I love the way that your characters, even though they're vampires, and to some people, vampires are sort of very gothic, but they speak in like people do nowadays. You know, it's a great trick to be able to have your characters in the here and now, but having this sort of gothic identity. So I think that's very well done.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Well, I tried to sort of show the difference really with the vampires between the younger ones and the really ancient ones.
Mm.
And I don't know, how that came across to you as a reader, but the really old vampires spoke very sort of precisely, if you like, and with barely any contractions,
Mm.
which oldie worldy vampires would naturally do. Whereas the newer vampires, those that have sort of come aboard in the last sort of 100 years or so, they're more adaptable, and they're the ones that are more likely to adopt the contractions and the type of language that you and I speak in this day and age. So I tried to sort of meld the two and just hope that it was successfully done.
It was. It was. It certainly came across very well. That's all right. If I didn't mean it, I wouldn't say it. So, so there we go. So if we move along to editing, because a lot of the people that we've been speaking to on here, we really started this around about NaNoWriMo time last year. And I know there's a lot of people who are now going back to their NaNoWriMo novels and editing them. And people who don't know you would probably like to know that you are the what's the phrase? Principal editor at Eagle Eye Editing. Eagle
Yep.
Eye Editing, yeah.
Eagle Eye Editors.
Eagle Eye Editors. The links will obviously be in the show notes afterwards. So when you approach, first of all, as an independent editor, would you turn down work that needed too much editing?
No, no,
That's
certainly
simple.
wouldn't. If there was the basis of a good story there, then I would try and work with the author to make them see the mistakes that they've made, how to put them right. Um, a lot of people have this idea that, editing's very impersonal almost. And maybe with some people it is, but that's not the way that Eagle Eye editors work. There is another principal editor who is Maria Johnson, who is superb. She really is good. So we work very well together. And the way we work is we get involved with the author, so that they understand, first off, the way we work before we even start, and then there's no surprises, and we're very quick to explain to them that we can only advise them to do certain things, but at the end of the day it's their work and they've got the final say.
Of course, yeah. It's just advice, isn't it, that you're giving, apart from sort of proofreading corrections, but you also give advice on story direction, story content too.
Yeah, very much so. We've got sort of two tiers of editing, if you like. There's the line or copy editing, which is where we look at obvious things like grammar, punctuation, spelling, sentence structure, repetitions of words in, close together, and suggesting alternatives that they could use. If a paragraph, for example, is way too long, where they can split it and why they should split it. And I always try to give an explanation as to why something needs changing. And then that way, when the author gets the chapters back, they can actually see where I'm coming from, and then they can make an informed decision about whether they're going to make those changes, basically.
And so when if you're how can I phrase this? If so, you've got a piece that you've accepted for editing, and you worked with the author, and you sort of understand how each is going to work. What do you just? What's the actual process of editing? Do you just read through and think, oh, that doesn't work, and or do you have like a set laid out procedure?
I have quite a set laid out procedure in the way that I do it. Um, it depends on whether people are coming to me just for a line edit or a full edit, which includes structural and developmental, which is where you look at the story as a whole, and see where there's any plot holes, see, if there's a certain part that could be padded out more, for example, if there was a fight scene, but it was only a page long and there's not enough detail there, then on a developmental and structural edit, you'd say to the author, right, this part isn't long enough, the fight is too quick because, so what you need to consider is X, Y, Z. See if you can rewrite this bit, and then we'll look at it again, for example. But starting from scratch, if somebody came to me for a full edit, the first thing I would do is get all the line edit stuff out of the way. So, all the sentence structure, all the grammar and everything else is right. And then once it's all done from that perspective, then I've got a clearer vision for the developmental and structural side. Because I find personally that when there's lots of typos and grammar problems, it makes it harder for me to see the overall story as it should be.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I always do, the line edit first, then I go on to the developmental and structural. And the way Maria and I work together is that if she's doing a full edit, I will always proofread the final copy before it's sent back to the author, and vice versa. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm only human. I can miss things. Maria's only human. She can miss little things. So by making sure that the other one reads it and goes through it as a final round of editing or proofreading, if you like, before we sign it off with the author, there's less chance of anything being missed. And it works very, very well.
Okay. So you don't. Are there any specific things you would look out for? Do you have any sort of, if you like, favourite mistakes or favourite words that people use by mistake, or anything like that? Or do you just read through and correct things as you read through?
Um, Basically, I start from page one and I don't read it through first, but as I go through, I'm correcting all the time, wherever it's needed. So it's not a case of reading through the whole thing and then starting. I just start from, the minute I see the first page and I just go for it, basically.
Fantastic. Oh, that's quite interesting, because I find when I'm sort of reading through my own work, I've actually made a list of words that I use too often, so I know to look out for them, even though I might sort of miss it as I'm reading through, because it's very very hard for the author to do their own editing.
Oh,
And it's not advised, I know, um, but but I do know there are certain sort of words I overuse, and I'll I'll actually sort of search specifically for them in the manuscript first. Um, so yeah, I must admit I do tend, like you, I would read through correcting as I go, doing line edits, because nothing worse. There's nothing worse when you're trying to read a story and understand the story than as a spelling mistake, there's punctuation, and you can't get into the swing of the story then, can you?
That's right. That's why I structure my edit the way I do. But talking about, overused words, oh my God, have I got a list.
Really?
And one right at the very top is that.
Ah, right, yeah.
It is a pet hate of mine. It gets overused so much you wouldn't believe it. And what I find when I've got authors who keep coming back to me, I mean, I've got 3 or 4 now who just keep coming back to me for all their work. And I've got a whole list of words that they tend to overuse. So I just have a quick flick down the list, and it's there and it's ready for when I sort of tackle their next one, sort of thing, which is quite funny. Um, but there's other sort of silly mistakes, and one of them is the bought and brought.
Mm.
The number of times people say bought when they really mean brought.
Yeah, I used to have a friend that would always say, yeah, I went to the shops and brought a new dress or something. You just think, no, that's wrong. But I was polite. I didn't correct him. But then you're an editor, so you're allowed to do that.
But I don't say that to my friends, I must admit.
No, no. There's this sort of grammar Nazi thing that goes on online, isn't there? Where sometimes you look at things and you think, oh, that's horrible, but you're not really allowed to say anything.
No, I mean, I'm not a grammar Nazi when it comes to, sort of talking to people.
Hmm.
But when it comes to editing, then I am.
Well, because it's your job to ensure that it's a professional piece of work,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's what a lot of people don't understand is the difference between writing something that they're happy with and writing something that you would consider and that many other people would consider a professional piece of work. How I mean, there must be times when you read things, and even though you've edited it, it's still wrong. If you've just been engaged to do a line edit, but you can see that there are structural errors, do you say anything? Do you hint at anything? Or do you suggest quite strongly that they think about having a structural edit as well?
Um, if I mean, funny enough, I'm actually in that situation now with a particular client, and I've got no, you know, there, there's no way I'm not going to say anything.
Mm.
When you've got more than one character in a chapter and multiple points of view going on, and it just doesn't gel, I've got to say something.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy to say to them, look, there's a fundamental flaw here. You can't do this. It just doesn't work. And you really ought to rewrite it. But at the
But
end of the day, it's the author's work, as I've said before.
yeah, I was just going to say that.
And,
Yeah.
you know, If I've
It's
only been engaged to do a line edit, that's all I can do. I
yeah.
can point out the flaws in the structure. I can make suggestions. It's up to them whether they want to sort of go ahead and do it or not.
And do you ever think? Do you ever read something and you think there are so many problems with this? They should really start again.
Um, I haven't had that on the editing side. Um, I did have it with one particular person who contacted me and asked me if I'd do a review of her book for her. And I got about 4 chapters in and I couldn't go any further. It was so bad. And I wrote to her and I said, look, I'm really, really sorry, but I can't finish your book. Um, and so obviously I can't review it. But if you want me to tell you what the problems are, then I'm quite happy to do so, but I will be blunt.
Yeah.
And she came back to me and said, yes, please do. So I let her have both barrels, but I did it in a nice way. I wasn't nasty about it,
No, no.
because, that's not fair. And it turned out that the editor that this lady had employed had made the changes herself, and completely screwed the book up and charged this woman a fortune for doing it.
Oh dear.
Well, it's not the editor's job to make the changes. It's the editor's job to make the suggestions and let the author decide whether they should change it or not.
Yeah, yeah. There's a very there is, or there should be, a very clear distinction. And I know on the other podcasts that I co-host, when we write blog posts, we put them in a shared folder for review. But even though it's like final review ready to be posted on the website, no one changes anything without referring back and saying, look, I've looked through it and I think it would be better if blah 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 was changed. And it's always down to the writer, the author of that blog post, to make the changes, which
Yeah.
which is exactly how as it should be.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I can't believe how badly this particular editor, and I don't know who it was, had screwed this book up. I could see that there was a great story just waiting to be told, um, but it was in such a jumble. It was, you just couldn't follow it. Really couldn't follow it, and it was dreadful.
Yeah, it's funny. Once you're sort of in like an online community, you see these. Have a read of my book, and my new book's out, and the number of times, because I never buy anything straight off the bat. I go in first and have a look at the on Amazon, have a look at the look inside, and within a page you can see whether you actually want to invest, even if you don't invest, even if it's a free book, whether you want to invest time in reading it or
Mm.
whether you're just going to be annoyed by it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, I like, excuse me, I like, it's nice to work with other independent authors, and it's nice to encourage other authors, um, and but sometimes you just think, I wouldn't know where to start with this, and you sort of pass it by. Whereas if you've been engaged in to edit it, you can't turn your nose up at it, can you? Like I do.
Um, well, it's the editor's prerogative to accept or a book or not at the end of the day. Um, but our ethos within Eagle Eye Editors is that because I'm published, I've got 3 books out. Maria's got a poetry book out, and she's got a creative writing degree, a BA honours degree anyway. you know, if we can work with the author and help them improve the story, and they're willing to work with us, then we're more than happy to take the work on. But if we find somebody who's not willing to listen to our suggestions, who's not willing to make corrections and that sort of thing, then I say, sorry, mate.
There's no point, is there?
No.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
we like to think that we're ethical and we're not going to take money off of people that aren't going to do the necessary corrections to make their work as good as it needs to be for publishing. And the way both Maria and I are, when it comes to taking on people's work, it's the way we see it. It's our job to make it the very, very best it can be, just as we would for our own work. And that's the ethos that we've sort of adopted as a business. That we put as much time as is necessary into the work to make sure that it's something that we would be proud to publish. And I think that's why we get authors coming back to us, because of the love and care and attention that we give to their work. And they know that at the end of it, they have got something that, they can just go and run with. And that, if we're willing to sign off on it, they know that we're proud of what's come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes
It's
sense.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because you're even though you're a separate entity, you're working very much hand in hand with the author, and you're working together on the book, rather than the author's written it and handed it to you and you hand it back and off they go. It's very much a collaborative effort between you.
Oh yeah,
And
very much
yeah,
so.
yeah, and your reputation is on the line as much as theirs is. If they assuming that they give you a credit on the cover, on the or in the front piece.
Hmm.
So so there we are. So I think that's about covered everything else, everything I wanted to talk about. So all three books are now available at Amazon,
Yeah.
in print or an ebook. And all they need to do, it's on the front page of your personal website, isn't it? So
Yeah.
so what I'll do is in the show notes I'll give a link to your website and a link to also to your author page on Amazon, which is obviously the best place to find all the books in one go. I did check earlier that they were all showing up. Some, Sometimes Amazon has a little fit and doesn't quite do things properly, but they're all up there, so that's good. Um, and is there anything else anything more that you want to say?
Um, what about editing or writing or?
Whatever you want. It's the floor's yours.
Oh, now that could be dangerous. You know that, don't you?
Hang on, I got my finger over the stop broadcast button. What's
Um, no, I don't think so, really. People that have been through Nano like I have, um, who are just about to start editing their books, they've got to realise that if they want to go to print with this, they cannot edit their own work. Um, Even me being a professional editor, I know that there's things that I miss, and I put my work out to an editor to get it done because I know they will do, exactly what I do for other people,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
So it's just a sort of caution, if you like, to anyone who's sort of starting the revision stroke editing process, that if they really want to put their book out there, then, do engage an editor that you're comfortable working with. That's very, very important. You've got to be able to build a relationship with your editor, and feel that you can actually work with them. Shop around, don't just go with the first editor that you come across. Get comparison quotes. But like all things, you get what you pay for at the end of the day. If something's too cheap, then the chances are you're not going to get a really good job done. And to also remember that if you put a book out there that is substandard, you will get a bad reputation and mud sticks for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's one of these things where, authors can get a bad reputation very, very quickly for putting out substandard work, and it takes an awful lot to overcome that.
Yeah, especially if it's your first book and no one's heard of you
Absolutely.
before, and it's different if you have a record and you have a bum book. But if it's your first book, you have to make sure that it is as perfect a piece of work, a piece of writing, and a piece of construction as an entity as it can
Mm.
possibly be. Yeah, author reputation is absolutely crucial with your first novel.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important, and I can't stress that enough. That get an editor. Whatever you do, get an editor.
So what you're saying is get an editor.
Uh, yeah, I think so.
I just want to, cut through and make it nice and simple and plain that people would understand. No, it's absolutely, you do see this everywhere, and the temptation is to think, oh, I've, I'm a good writer. I've studied English. I can edit myself, but it's the worst thing you can do, because you don't read what you've written. You read what you think you've written.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail completely on the head there. And that's where people go wrong.
Yeah, yeah. They
All
make
too
us.
often, unfortunately.
Yeah, they make assumptions, and no matter who you are, your idea of what is technically correct in a piece of writing might not be the same as 99.9% of your prospective purchasing audience.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've seen stuff like that.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, we'll call an end to it there. All that remains is for me to say, if you've enjoyed this broadcast, please subscribe. Go to writer-chat.com, where all the previous chats are up and linked to, and check the show notes both on YouTube and on that website for Carlie's contact information, website, author page, and the Eagle Eye Editors website too, and they can contact you through that website.
Yeah, there's a contact form on the website where they can sort of come to us. There are various benefits, or discounts, that's the word I'm looking for. There are various discounts that are available, and there is one for people that completed Nano last
Hmm.
year. Um, so if they did decide to come to us, they would get a discount off the editing anyway. And we also do payment plans, which not a lot of editors do. So, all the information is on the site, and they can just fill in the contact form and get in touch with us that way.
Yeah, I was looking at that earlier, the payment plan of a payment up front and then sort of stage payments, um, and that sounds like a really good idea.
Well, not everyone's got, 2 grand in the bank, for example, that they can just hand over. Whereas if you've got sort of stage payments, it's a lot easier for people to budget, um, and you know it's easier all round on them. And we explain to them exactly how the process works, and then it's up to them to make sure that the payment is made on time, because we don't start the next round until the payment's been received. And I think that's the fairest way on both sides.
Oh yeah, yeah. You don't want to put yourself in a position where money is outstanding and you've done the work and you're not going to get paid for it. That's just not fair and not right.
No, that's right. So we try to make it easier for people by scheduling a payment plan, and it has worked extremely well.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, then. Well, I'll take us off there. I'll just say thanks a lot for coming on the program, Carlie. I really appreciate it. As always, it's been a really interesting discussion, and I hope the viewers will have liked it too.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me on again, Gerald. I've really enjoyed it.
It's my pleasure. Anytime. Thank
Oh,
you.
bless your heart.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.